Thanks for staying with us. So a viral video was all over social media yesterday about workers protesting after the Minister of Works, David Umahi, locked them out for resuming late to work. The minister was said to have prevented workers who came to work late from gaining access into the ministry. He has since apologized, but would like to hear your thoughts on this. So join the conversation and call us on 081-076-41679 and 090-241-63440 or tweet to us at TVC Connect using the hashtag YourViewTVC. So we know that Nyma had already established the story from the newspapers this morning. And when I saw the video, the viral video yesterday, I was a bit upset. And let me tell you why I was upset. I was upset because they were protesting, that's my personal opinion now, for their bad behavior. They came late to work and were locked outside. And now they decided to lock the minister inside and started protesting. So I was asking myself, what is the moral of this story? Even if things have been going wrong in the ministry and they needed to get their attention, do you protest for something you have done wrong and you were, somehow punished for doing it? Or you find a better time to get the minister's attention? But let me come to the ladies. What are your thoughts on it?
Should I start?
Please start.
You know you want to.
So we saw drama yesterday, and for me, the minister had earlier in past weeks mentioned that he was being threatened by staff of the ministry, by civil servants. And he also mentioned that some contractors were also threatening him. At the time when he talked, we were saying what happened. But to see the wish now cry in the daytime, picking down in the morning, the way they did it, because the way they came out and locked him in, I consider it an affront. I also consider him locking them out as an affront because this ministry is not your state. You know the way state governors used to do like principal. Some will say, stand up to traditional rulers, tell them to sit down. Wike did that when he was in Rivers State, and now we had the Obasanjo do the same. Talk to people down, talk down at people as if we're at a village meeting where the village headmaster is controlling people. Such are not the ways to deal with issues in service. In service, there are protocols, there are ways to go. So if you have a time for resumption, you have a clock-in system, clock-out system, you can check who's coming late. If lateness is a ground of misconduct that you want to address at one person, you address it. You don't just come into school like a principal, lock the gate. All of you that are late, go back home. We're talking of adult relations here. There's civil ways of going about things. So both sides, for me, were wrong. Then the civil servants who feel that we are beyond any reprimand, we can resume when we like in our office, our private businesses. We're coming in the morning, I've taken child to school. There's a resumption time. I remember that I stayed with my aunt when Fashola became governor in Lagos State. I remember then I attended the first Juma service that he had at the Lausa Central Mosque. And suddenly my auntie became too busy. I could hardly stay back in school. I was rounding up with my law degree then, and she would keep calling me, Joe, help me, my kids and everything, because she had to resume much earlier than she would. She used to be an 8 to 9 person. She started going to work earlier than 7. We have this meeting, finance something. She took a master's that was relevant to the present position she was holding. She will go, she will come back. Sometimes she'll be in the office till 11. Her husband, also a civil servant with the same government, would be like, this department is soaking, is drenching my wife. She would walk. She'll come back, she'll be like, this Mr. Timetable, because he kept to time. He himself, she said the risk was the governor coming before you to work. You don't know which department he will show up at. So everybody sat up. He showed the example he wanted. And there was protocol. There was no locking anybody that made the news. There's a way. There's a civil servant rules that they must comply with. What time is resumption time that is practical? You do it by ensuring that whoever is a late comer, habitual one, you give them their memo, the query, or whatever you do. At the end of the day, if they need to be relieved of their services. So you're saying
you handle it individually? It's not generalized?
Not even just, you don't generalize, you don't lock service. You keep a time, something that checks whether they're coming. And if that's a ground you want to discipline anybody for, you either query or memo them, or, at the end of the day, worst case, relieve them of their duties.
The way you now put it is now confusing me.
Okay. So I understand. I get that code. So first of all, my initial thoughts were, how dare they? The audacity. You're late, they lock you up, then you lock up the minister.
Not be school.
We are in big trouble. That people will gather together to raise their voice over their bad behavior. Like the shame did not even allow you to quietly find your level. You thought that you're going to make yourself a nuisance. Let the world see us. Yes, we have locked you up. That is how I saw it at first. Now that Madam Lawyer is saying there's code of conduct, I now hear her and I agree. There has to be a way that we address, there has to be protocol. Because we have seen when the overzealousness, even if, especially on the wrong side, and we have called it out. So even though in this case it was for their own bad behavior, I think that there really has to be a code of conduct that we follow. But there's something I learned when I was growing up. Like if, let's say, it used to happen to me quite a bit. Let's say someone older than me did something wrong to me, right? And by the time I go to report to my mom, I had already taken a step. Do you understand? I had to maybe talk back that adult. So my mom would say, no matter what that adult did to you before then, you have nullified it. Yes.
Wow. Nullified it.
Good. So in this case, I feel the code of conduct that he did not follow, that is valid, but it makes no sense now because we had a group of civil servants who had the audacity to lock up a minister in the office for daring to demand of them to do what was right. So they have nothing to talk about.
No case now.
They have no case. Nigerians are not going to watch this group of people and think, okay, yes.
That's the way to go.
No. It was wrong. It's so wrong. See, we are always putting out our young ones. Oh, they are misbehaving. Where are they learning it from? They're learning it from us, the adults. Now, wow.
Calm down. We need
that in our lifetime, we'll see open and blatant disrespect for
office.
The service, for office, for a minute. No, it was just so wrong.
So before I come to you, Toby, I wanted to respond to Nyma a bit. So, you were mentioning code of conduct, but as a minister, you can come in and decide to change things. I think you should have the prerogative to say, okay, this is how we're going to be doing this going forward because you hold that position. And I know that we make the civil servants in Nigeria seem like they are gods. We revere them because we don't want wahala, especially if you are planning to be doing contracts tomorrow, they can stop you or do whatever. But he has a right to say, okay, this is the pattern in which I want to go. It's possible they have a code of conduct and they are not obeying. These kind of people, do you think they will respond to query if they give them query? For them to boldly lock up the minister, they will not respond to query.
They will. You see, query is a different matter. What he did, he empowered them for this charade that we just saw. He put them in groups. So, in fact, they switched off all the lights. Now, NLC, you see, they did a labor against government protest yesterday. Not only did they, first of all, lock the gate, to compel their colleagues inside to support them, they lock off lights. Compel those ones to come and join them when heat covered them. They came out to come and take breeze and join them. And then forced the governor to, the minister to apologize. The one that now broke me is the minister was forced to apologize.
Oh,
so as a minister, can I not say that he was held hostage?
Okay, hold on. Let's hear.
You see, when you do it in a group like that, you can't tidy things up.
Let's hear Toby's initial thoughts. Go ahead.
Okay, so seeing this story, I realized that it is something that has eaten deep into our system. So, for instance, if you take your child to school and maybe you're late, and the school is saying, oh, our rule says by 8:30, any child that doesn't come goes back home. And you see a mother or a father say, what do you mean? Am I not paying school fees? Let that child in. And, we take it up like that. And we see this again play out in another space. And so we're saying, are these not parents too? Because I'm looking that these are people that...
elderly men and women.
Yes, that we are supposed to look at...
the school principal, then they'll go to and shout at the minister.
They'll go again to their office to do the same thing. And so these are things that we see on a daily basis, but we're just saying that because it is ministry and people working, we're now trying to feel like we're not really being involved, right? And then I want to say also that the effect of that backlog, we're not thinking of it on the economy. So a full ministry didn't work for a whole day. What is the effect of that? We're probably thinking that what would they have lost? It may just be a situation of we no go office, all of us protest, and that was it. But when we look at it, some monies have been lost. Manpower hours have been lost in the, yes, there are more things that we need to worry about.
So you see, I'm shaking my head, right? Nothing was lost because they wouldn't have come to work early anyway, and they would have closed much earlier than they are meant to close anyway. Whatever,
yes.
it is the
Basically,
same hours
no
that have been lost
consequences.
all this time that was lost on that day. Nothing new.
Yeah.
was
But
lost.
let's
also
pause this conversation. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we open our phone lines for calls and messages, and we continue the conversation. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. So we're still discussing the minister, David Umahi, who was locked inside for locking his workers outside the Mata Tarapa. But we have a caller, Yakub. Good morning, Yakub.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Obviously, this is the tip of eyebrow because this is to tell us that a lot of wrong is going on in our ministry. Not only Ministry of Work. This is an example of what is really going on in so many ministries, especially the government parastatals. Okay, the question is this. This is the same labor people, because these guys is among of labor people that want to strike next week now.
Yes.
Now, they give you employment. You did not show up in your working place at the time you need to show up. And then your master comes before you and then lock you outside. And then the next thing you do is to switch off the light and lock the boss. Who does that? I think a lot of people in the labor market today, you see, a lot of students and graduates every day, they are looking for jobs. They are looking for this job that these people have opportunity to get, and then they are not taking it serious. I can tell you, if today the federal government just back those guys, a lot of people will secure jobs in that particular ministry. How do you not, minister? That's wrong.
Alaji Yaku, do you think that the minister himself addressed the lateness with due process, or is it okay to just lock people out of work?
Hello, Sister Nyma. I listened to you when you were saying that there's a protocol that's all this, that's all that. Yes, there's a protocol, but the question now is this, Sister Nyma. Before this guy secured the job, what is was exact time they're supposed to resume to the job? What is exact time? So are they not giving time frame that this is total time that you resume, and then you get to job around 9, and if I don't mistake, or after 9. Sister Nyma, look at that video. Look at all what you are always passing through every day in traffic. You still make sure that you get to your field at the time that you need it. Who does that? That's rubbish. God bless you.
Thank you, Yakub. Thank you. It's really vibrating. Toby needed to finish her thoughts. Wow. Go ahead, Toby.
For me, I think that once the gate was locked, I felt it was the appropriate thing to do. After waiting for a while, just go home. You now waited. People were recording you. You didn't even think that your face would have been all around. You now staged the protest. And for our systems today, when we go to federal government or government parastatals, we literally have to plan our entire day, even though what we need to do is just maybe 5 minutes. But you know, the way when we get there, we just say, wait, the person has not come. And you're just tied down. You can't take permission, you know, to do something with the government. And I think that this is just a wake-up call, really, not just for this particular ministry, just all around also, to say that how are we able to balance the work systems, the timings, such that people really meet you on your seat at the time they are meant to meet you on your seat. But that doesn't, I do not agree with the fact that he locked. Like Nyma said, there are other processes, there are ways by which, I mean, you can pass this message across. But again, we can never say, maybe he had talked, written a memo, pasted announcements, done all of that, and then he said, today, I will deal with you. The Nigerian in me will come out.
They are saying that there are underground issues. The workers are saying, the civil servants are saying there are other issues, that he had stopped engineers and directors from doing their work, and he has been breaking public service rules since his appointment by bringing in consultants to run the affairs of the ministry. So this is like the one that now broke Kame back home. You understand? It's the final one that beat Kame. So they don't want. They finally had to. It was a show of strength between themselves and the minister that at this point, we say will be human being. If you say, my grandmother used to say, if you say I eat too much, what about the work I do for you? If you say I eat too much in your house, what about the work I do?
Yeah.
So value for value, give, you know, their workers, their human beings, and treat them with dignity. That's why I said, he too, he cannot just go. This is not your village headmaster meeting now, that you just come and lock door. It's not your home. It's a ministry. It is a government office. You come in, call Bosun Tijani to help you do biometrics. Put clock in, clock out inside. Everybody fingerprints done already there. In a few pata, the government used to say 18 months. Everything they want to do, they would have finished it up in 18 months. Anybody that press finger after 9, he knows
what will happen. Can these people take the consequences?
So but you can do things much more.
Owolabi, before I come to Miriam. Good morning, Owolabi. Good morning, sir.
Yes, okay. My view on this is Mr. Nyma, there are some that are all government workers whereby they go in as early as 9, complete and go back and still return, because I experienced this thing last week, whereby my elder sister, now the woman was just running down there that, okay, I have to complete. He didn't complete, he went back. And still coming back around 5. I was just want to tell woman that, what is the next thing? He's like, take care. And there are some people there, protesting yesterday, they had not ready to come to work. It's their colleague that will call them, protest is happening, just come. Because we believe that, okay, this one is federal government work, it's not a do or that. But if it's a corporate organization, you can't do that. They have a disciplinary committee that will take into the matter and look it up. Thank you, and President.
Thank you. So I just also wanted to say that, you know, we have lamented the behavior of the civil servants. As far as I'm concerned, they were wrong. I also acknowledge that there has to be a due process and a code of conduct. So for even how the minister would address issues like that. And I think we should try and encourage that to happen. But I think we need to talk about the way the minister also handled himself after. Imagine if he had called the IG of police and said, I've been held hostage, and then they'd release police officers to come and round them up.
We will complain.
Do you understand? But in his own way, he decided to be humble about it, because he too, like, after all, I'm the minister, you know. But he decided, you see, I will apologize to them, and then we can move forward. He decided to be the bigger person.
Yes.
And for me, I'm happy that this happened, because we need to highlight the importance of the bigger person. A lot of Nigerians like to say, I'm not the fool here. Who do you want to bamboozle, you know? And that's why a lot of our issues just degenerates, you know? But if one person is able to say, you know what, I can see all the offenses that they have done against me, I will put that aside. And for the bigger good, for the greater good, I will humble myself, whatever it is, and then we can move forward. And I'm happy that he did that. And then they can sit down and do it properly, because these aggrieved civil servants could have gone to their HR and they would have handled this. He has, and if the HR had to sort of call the minister to order, they would have, if they had sat with HR to say, he locked us out, this is not protocol, this is not how you should have done it, but they didn't do that. But so now I hope that they will do the right thing. And the people that were protesting, are they willing now, when they follow the proper process, to
change their ways?
No, not change their ways. To accept their punishment.
Okay, that's one.
Change their ways is okay. If you like, don't change it. But
You
there's
will go.
going to be consequences for your actions. I hope that you are bold and strong enough and confident enough in that behavior to accept, to face your punishment. And really, going forward, across board, we have to have a code of conduct that we follow.
That will guide everybody.
That will guide everyone.
Yeah, let's take this call from Sandra. Sandra from Abuja. Good morning, Sandra.
Morning. I just want to contribute my own part to what you are saying in the studio.
Let it count.
All of us know that we know the time to resume. Every Nigerian knows where civil servants resume. And when we are saying that the man is not something wrong, that's how we are where we are now. Because we don't always take correction. There's nothing the man can do than what he has done. To just say like a warning for them. You know that the something you are talking about is not about president or whoever is in position. It's about the civil servant. So if you do not do this thing, so I work in the bank. Can you work in the bank? A bank worker will walk to the front door by 8 o'clock. You get a query because you know when you're supposed to resume. They know when they're supposed to resume. That's why you have nothing working. People are complaining about government. Who are the government? The civil servants are the worst government. From the security to whoever answers to whatever they have. The corruption comes from them to the minister that just came in, and they continue. Something is working in the ministry. You want to go to ministry to go by say you will wait, work. A high person have not come. The junior ones are not even in the office for 25. When you call them, you don't even say sorry. They be arrogant. You will not expect to say don't go to ministry. And it's all over Nigeria. And if they try to make a correction, why are we condemning him? Who are they? Are they not working for us? Are we not?
So I want to quickly say that I might just have been too emphatic on, on both sides and their faults, but I don't endorse the civil servants. Let's talk about how Nigerians are. So when I was schooling in primary school, there was consequence to lateness. There was consequence to lateness in secondary school, and I did not try to do lateness in the university, even though there was liberty. And today, where I work, nobody is going to kill me, but it is already
engraved
mindset.
In your subconscious.
I'm not worried for my kids. When you're taking kids to school now, the school bus is late. The children don't even know what time it is.
The school bus is late.
We used to trek to school, so I could not dare be late. But now, children will sit in the bus. School bus will just break down in the middle of the road to school, back home. There's no keeping to time. I saw a bus yesterday at Amu Odofi doing a one-way with people's children into the estate gate. What did you teach the child? Just find your way, find your way. Anyhow. And they grow like that into the ministry. And in ministry work, is somebody to help somebody thing. When you have reached the place that they help you reach, and you are sitting on your power table.
Your belly go sway.
Madam, we are not going to take your file.
Yeah.
Queue. I want to eat, you people should go. You know those kind of attitude. Or you now use agidi, you go and spark English and submit your file by force. They put it under the table.
Yeah.
At the time when they are ready. So even we come into ministries, we have to know somebody to fasten our petitions, appeal, whatever we are writing, contract applications, all of that. So there's this Nigerian culture, Nigerianness,
of corruption,
and the way it is being worsened by the examples we show the children.
So I like what you said now, but there are causes for different things. If the children wake up early in the morning and get ready for school, and the school bus takes them late, there's a cause for that. They see that they wake up early. It's not like school is starting 7:30. You people are just waking up 8 o'clock. You wake up 5:30, you get ready. That is already engraved in their system. Whatever now happens on the road is a different thing, because as early as we come, sometimes traffic holds us. That does not mean that you're now reprogramming yourself.
What would work? I just want to quickly explain on that thing. What would work for the child to complete that learning is that when the child gets to school at 9, the teacher, who knows that it's the school bus that made the child get to school late, does something about that morning class to afternoon class that the child must have missed. Or maybe the first subject.
They do that.
No, they don't. They don't.
Some schools, but let me
don't. They will be telling me child is late. Me, child, I woke my child at 6 o'clock. No. The child was ready at 6 a.m. You are telling me the child was late and the child missed those classes and they affect the exam.
The school,
you now call the mother nag.
Wait,
she's
now, the school that I know.
I'm talking from personal experience.
Generally, the school that I know, when it's school bus that brings them late, they know that this one's our boss. There's definitely something wrong with the bus for bringing them late. They don't carry it out on the children. But when parents bring the children late, that's where they question, which of course, but let's take this call. We'll come back to you. Let's take Ayo from Akute. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
Doing amazing, sir.
Please, the topic we are discussing this morning is a very interesting one. And I want to let you know that Nigeria is what it is today because of the way ministries, departments, and agencies of government work.
Oh, we left that. So, Miriam, finish.
Yes, I was just going to say that even your explanation where you're saying that the school, if you come by school bus, they understand and they'll let you go. You're still teaching, you're still misdirecting the children. Because a parent would realize, okay, I get caught in traffic, so we even wake up earlier. But the school bus is not going to come and pick you earlier because they know that there's this traffic that they meet. So your child is invariably learning, if you have the right connection, you can get away with anything, as far as I'm concerned. That's what he's teaching. In my house, when I was growing up, I think heaven has to fall down before you can go to school. But now I have my child say, oh, I have a tummy ache, I have a headache. And then my husband and I will actually be arguing whether they should go to school.
Or not.
When I was growing up, you go to school, they will give you something in the school. If you say it even jokingly to my mom, I don't want to go to school, she will look at you, what? For us,
we fall.
Like as a child, you wake up and then you go to school. That is your life. If you don't do that, you have failed. You know.
Yeah.
So even in the school bus traffic thing, we will, as a parent, it would mean we left home at 7 yesterday. It means we have to leave home at 6:30. School bus is not going to do that. So what are we teaching?
I don't know. The school bus that comes.
No, it's not.
I know.
It's not even directly about this. Is that so that all of us we start thinking about the consequences of some of the things that we're doing.
So
it's reflecting how our children behave, how we behave, what expectations we have from our government too.
I know. But we must also put into consideration other causative factors. We're not in isolation here, right? The thing is to do the best that you can do. Wake your children at the right time that you're supposed to wake them. Let them understand being able to arrive early. It's not every day they go to school late, even if the school bus meets traffic. We know the cause of traffic in Nigeria. We cannot excuse that. In Lagos, exactly. But you need to do what you have to do, first of all, and leave the external factors. The children will find their way. But you mentioned something else that I'm a bit worried about. You said they've been having underlying issues in the ministry. Probably that's was one of the reasons they now decided to, okay, maybe this is the one that is the last straw that is breaking the camel's back. No matter how our parents misbehave, we're not rude to them. We don't lock them out. So do you think that even though the ministry or the minister has been getting consultants from outside and they are aggrieved about it, or maybe some things are not going well the way they want, does that give them the justification to do what they did?
Okay, so clearly they are insubordinate, they are lazy, some of them might be incompetent. But we know politics. The governor, the minister is a former governor. He will have his own entire team he has trusted that he will want to go with. I remember when I was a child, one of my neighbors then was with Now Merchant Bank, and his guy was promoted to the CBN. Back then, the guy just moved to the CBN, and we're saying, did you apply for it? So no, I was taken with my Oga. His Oga was made one of the deputy governors of the CBN. Back then, I was a child. And that was how we never saw my neighbor again. They lived in Abuja for years. So he went with his Oga. So imagine the minister coming in with his right-hand man, his left-hand man, and all of those man. They are coming to the ministry. Of course, they will offset the setting existing already. And usually the directors of the ministry, the senior staff of the ministry will be like, what is happening here? It will take a time to adjust. So there has to be diplomacy in leadership. And there's no leader that cannot be diplomatic. So they must have brought some things that we have seen in confrontation that unsettles the workers to say, what is happening here? Presently now in the FCT, we heard that 21 heads of different parastatals within the FCT were relieved by the minister. And no particular reason like some of these tenable reasons were given. Just, so that, they will set in new people and all of those things. It's not, we see that every time, every new administration, somebody is coming in, you're coming in with your own team, you're saying the people already there don't work well. It is a civil service. They are working for their pension. They want to do a number of years of service so that they can qualify. You don't just come and offset things like that.
Okay.
You inculcate and,
Okay, we have a caller, Goke. Good morning, Goke.
Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, you're live.
Okay. I just want to shoot me something concerning the issue you are discussing. You ladies are trying. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
You see, what the civil servant did to the minister was very, very unruly. And I consider it an act of his subordination to the honorable minister. It's very wrong. You see, there is a civil service. You have to subordinate yourself to your superior officer. So you don't just, if you are locked out in such a manner, there is a way you do it that even after opening the gate, you apologize. You see, push forward your grievance through your superior officer. Then on the part of the honorable minister, if a new minister or a new boss is posted or brought to an establishment like that,
the Honorable Minister should have, or such a boss, should have organized a meeting between himself and the workers to discuss the issue. I mean, to give them his do's and don'ts, what he wants under his administration or what he doesn't want. He should have done that through a meeting and address them, giving them his what he wants. Like this time I want you to do resuming. I will not condone such type of attitude. What you have been doing before, business will no longer be as usual. You have done that through a meeting. But at the same time, the workers, because of the discipline, we are supposed to be disciplined. I'm also a civil servant in Lagos. So there is a way you subordinate yourself to your senior officer. It was.
Oh, that's a very fantastic
You
point.
could have also added the staff boss. Staff boss cannot be late. Staff boss have time.
So I was going back there. I was going to also say that you talked about the various factors that affect everything, and that's why when you're coming to late to work, you call ahead, or if for some reason you can give a letter ahead of time, say I may not be available at this time. There are different things that we do because we are considering these other factors. And then if you find yourself on that day you're so late, they would have just reached out to HR. I'm sure different people were late for different reasons on the day. Yes. There may be somebody that has been always early, but that particular day was late. But what would be that person's saving grace is to be able to approach HR and say, this was the reason why I was late, But also, I think we need to talk about this conversation that I think you also sort of touched on it a bit, which is sabotaging ministers, the civil servants and civil service.
Down on the second side.
So we hear this a lot. We say, oh, we had this commissioner who was great, fantastic. But to do that work, that person had to jump hurdles of civil servants to do the right thing. And those people just never seem to last because they did not pay dividends. They did not do it in such a way that they were massaging some people's egos. They did not take care of some people. The civil service has to understand that when Nigerians are coming together and be shouting at government not doing the work, really, just wipe the surface. The civil service is right underneath because of our issues. You have someone who has come, David Umahi has been described by many commentators when I hear they say a square peg in a square hole, a round hole, because he knows when he's talking to contractors, you can't bamboozle him. He understands all the terms. He knows the numbers. So this is a person that seems to be the right person for this ministry. But
see now,
he must go. We don't like him because he's pushing a certain. So civil service, look inwards. Do you really want the best for Nigeria or just for your own time?
It's a good question. Okay. And we know that any good change is usually resisted by the people who are benefiting from the loopholes. The people.
What you said just reminded me of the the Federal House of Reps and their back and forth with the Federal Minister for Works on this Lagos-Ibadan road. And they sit down and they watch the news every time. I'm wondering, what are we fighting for? They summoned him at one point and said he too apologized. The Federal Minister for Works had to apologize to the House of Reps. They called him to come and answer something on an approval about the road, saying that he had overlooked the office. The people sometimes always flex this small power. Even ordinary gatesman, you see him in the office, want to see your guy, and you don't have an appointment.
You will hear it.
Maybe if you have an appointment,
he will let you know.
So how do we begin to change the narrative? How do we begin to talk to ourselves? Because I know that this behavior that they carry out in private, because of the way the private sector is run, you dare not. You come late 2 times, you are going home. You dare not. So how do we, and unfortunately, the civil servants are more, especially in a country like Nigeria. How do we begin to change this narrative so that people will do their work as at when due and things will go smoothly? How do we converse? We have a lot of them around us, our mothers, our fathers, our how do we begin to tell them that we need to change so that Nigeria can move forward? Now whole Nigeria for our pockets.
This change that you speak is not so easy like that because change comes with a lot of discomfort. While you were speaking, Mariam, I remember that, so my mom used to be an educator. So there was this tutor general from a different district in Lagos. By the time she was leaving that district, because she was very strict, upright, and very, very, she was a no-nonsense kind of woman. They didn't do a send forth for her. These people went ahead to create e-flyers, and they were like, the violent woman is gone, the tormentor has gone, and they kept on sharing these among themselves.
Let me pause you a bit. I'll come back to you. We have another caller, Alhaji Zubai from Alimosho. Good morning, Alhaji.
Yes, good morning, Vicky. Good morning. Good morning to the lady. And Nyma, good morning. You are welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Nyma. Yeah. So, now, you see, we need to appreciate somebody of this nature. That is the Minister of War. Man of seriousness, and it's a firm person. You see, so one of your callers, made a statement. He said, when Nigerians, see themselves, that is what we are suffering today. The way Nigerians behave is what we said for ourselves. You understand? There's an analogy. In Yoruba language, Ogata, it's common. Yes, it's common within the ministry. It's common. That is the analogy. That is the belief. The Minister of Work is the chief executive of that ministry. He needs to be respected. Chief executive. So you see, I know most of them that they are politicians, whatever, they're trying to mess, so show ego with the minister, which is wrong. You understand? So we need to appreciate somebody of this nature. That is the Minister of War. That is Umahi. Look at the way he talks to the one contractor on the road. The road that somebody has collected 414 billion. You understand? And look at people suffering along the road. So, you see, Nigeria should behave in the attitude, and encourage whoever that is good on his, on his office. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
So let's finish her thoughts.
And so by the time she got to the district where my mom was, my mom said, actually, people already had that preconceived mindset that this woman is, And after a while, my mom said, this woman is such a lovely person.
Wow.
She's a very principled person, yes. But you know how it is when people don't like going the right way to get things done. They are always still settled in the way that this is how we've been doing it. So nobody can just come and say, So, and I think that when we speak about this change is not so easy to adjust to. And we must keep on driving that conversation. And so my question would be, how diplomatic should a leader be in driving home this conversation at all costs?
Extremely important.
Yeah.
But this Ogata, ASU is presently doing that with the federal government, asking for about how many months' pay? 20 months' pay they were at home.
Yes, for the strike.
When they were on strike. So if you lock them out, it does not reduce salary. So that there has to be other ways of addressing it.
Exactly.
So it's you that lock them out.
That will be losing.
They'll be talk about man powers and man hours at work. All those one is English. It's civil service. What other ways can you do this thing? That's where I have a problem with the minister and his approach. You must put down your new rules, your time for resumption. The consequences to lateness or absence at work without reason must be such deterring weight that, they themselves will come to work. And then some services used to do, even banks do this thing. They run a staff bus system. I know some staff bus that at 4 a.m. on my way to
so they are waiting
for an emergency, they were already driving. I was like, who this one won't carry?
Before.
Some 3:30, they're already moving around. True. So do things that, would aid the services.
Put things in place.
Put things in place. Then when you're addressing and picking out one errant person, who the person head say had knock. Some people have even the crowd would support. You don't just come in. And Miriam said, some people have been early at work, but that day they had one reason or the other. You didn't know which reason. So let me just say, maybe he was trying to call them to order. He probably would have opened after that day.
I want to believe he had done something. So, I want to believe that. But let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll bring in our celebrity guest and continue on this conversation. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.